A warm welcome back to the channel, and it's time for your aviation news recap, taking a look at some of the most recent stories within the aviation industry, all in bite-sized format, and all in the one video, from Air India, Alaska Airlines, Air Belgium, Northern Pacific, and more. Stay tuned. Air India is undergoing one of the most extensive fleet modernisation plans in aviation history, with hundreds of new aircraft arriving in the coming years. As part of these plans, the company will lease 3 777-300ERs from Singapore Airlines to meet those demand levels that they're seeing. Leasing aircraft is a means that many carriers entertain to meet those immediate demands across their network, while waiting for new aircraft deliveries to take place. Typically, these will take longer and therefore are a long-term solution rather than an immediate short-term fix. As part of these additional 777s arriving from Singapore Airlines and paired with the already existing aircraft on lease, Air India says it'll be able to phase out its older 777-200s. Air India also notes that these aircraft have aging cabins, which is not really the direction that the new ownership wants to take the brand, and the image that is portrayed to customers jumping on board one of the respective services. Since the Tata Group took over the reins at Air India once more, there's been a lot of focus placed on ensuring that the image of the airline does change, and becomes once more a pride flyer of the Indian flag, and the general perception, not just from people within the country but those utilising the services, is it's a very high quality airline, something that many people would argue has been missing in recent times. Air India has a fleet of 109 in-service aircraft, but firm aircraft orders total almost 500 units. These are spread across narrow-body and also wide-bodies at Airbus and Boeing. Moving along, focus is on Play Airlines, which will be launching a new non-stop flight to Frankfurt from the 14th of December 2023, which is part of its continued network expansion. The service will see 4 to 5 flights per week over the winter period and join the already pre-existing German cities served. The CEO of Play said, "We are delighted to be able to add more destinations to our transatlantic route network at a time where demand in North America for flights to Europe is high. Revenue from passengers from North America is much higher than last year, so this is a great time to add Frankfurt as a destination. With 10 aircraft in our fleet, which is now the youngest and most modern fleet in Europe, we are in a great position to expand our route network and keep offering competitive prices to passengers." Frankfurt does become the 4th German destination that the company will fly into eventually, with year-round flights into Berlin, and meanwhile Dusseldorf and Hamburg get flights across the summer months on a seasonal basis. Play, as mentioned, has an active fleet of 10 aircraft spread across the A320neo family. Its fleet age averages around 3.6 years, and that's why it is one of the youngest. In June of 2023, just in case you were curious, the city pairings that had the most flights were Reykjavik to Copenhagen with 62. This was a 24% boost from the same month for 1 year earlier. Moving on to the next story, and that's with Alaska Airlines, who are really continuing a theme that's widely being seen with US-based carriers and many others in other geographical positions, but they did share their revenue and also financial results for the second quarter, which really focused on reporting record revenues and a very robust and reliable operation. The company said that on June 30th, it broke records by also carrying the most guests in a single day in company history. On top of this, they also said they had a completion rate of 99.59% for the quarter just gone. The airline says this is the lowest rate of cancellation of any airline. Meanwhile, not only were cancellations common, but Alaska says that more than 82% of flights arrived within 15 minutes of their scheduled arrival time, making that on-time performance quite good for them. But they are committing, Alaska Airlines are going to only continue their commitment to securing new aircraft to power their future fleet. They note that 251 aircraft have been ordered and 53 of which have already been delivered, all part of those fleet revamp plans that also see the departure of Airbus aircraft. However, one of the biggest takeaways is really the strong performance in the second quarter, which for the airline was record-breaking. Alaska Airlines said it saw $240 million USD in profits, which is 75% higher than the same quarter 1 year prior. Meanwhile, revenue also grew to USD 2.8 billion. However, despite all the growth in the areas mentioned and also no doubt other parts that I won't mention, there are still warning signs that the company has now peaked, and future forecasting may finally see the impact of inflation and a whole lot more really hit the airline. Analysts say that third quarter guides off the back of a solid second quarter may look a little softer, but when factoring in the importance of the second quarter and third quarter for the summer travelling, it totally makes sense. The final story of the day does sit with Northern Pacific Airways, who announced plans to increase their operations from Ontario in California to Las Vegas. The startup airline will double the number of flights from the 3rd of August, and it comes following a launch that occurred on the 14th of July. Previously, Northern Pacific Airways operated just one weekly flight. Now it will operate from Ontario on Sunday, Thursday, and Friday, before departing Vegas on Sunday, Monday, and Thursday, respectively. Northern Pacific Airways operates with an exclusive fleet of Boeing 757s. However, its route from Ontario to Vegas is still a mile away from its initial business plan. The company had previously identified Alaska to Asia operations with the 757 during its heavy launch phase. However, the invasion into Ukraine by Russia and subsequent airspace restrictions did mean that Northern Pacific truly had to pivot. The launch of these Las Vegas flights are a means to get the aircraft in the air, but by no means are the end goal, and that's very much evident through the lack of promotion away from media publications. Inside Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport, there is already a lounge that has been refurbished, awaiting the arrival of the company. When this does remain to be seen. There are a lot of things that do still need to happen before it can take place, but it remains one of the biggest goals that the airline wants to complete: be there for the people of Alaska. There are, of course, criticisms over this route and whether it will actually be profitable for them and a moneymaker at all, and whether the airline will even survive long enough to make those Alaska flights. You can let me know down in the comments your thoughts on that matter, as well as anything else covered in today's aviation news recap. Whether that be right at the beginning, where I was discussing Air India leasing on some Boeing 777s from Singapore Airlines, maybe it's in reference to Play Airlines expansion or something else. Thanks a lot for your continued support here right on the channel. If you'd like to see more of these 8-minute aviation news recaps, you can let me know down below in the comments, and thanks a lot. I'll see you next time.